वीडियोस ऑन कर लीजिए. We'll also go live on YouTube as well. Okay, good evening everyone. Good evening. Just a second, let me check is my audio video clear or not. Right, तो जो यहाँ connected हैं, right, I just wanted to have a small confirmation. Right, is my audio video clear? If it is clear, you just write clear in a chat box. If it is my audio video clear? Right, फटाफट बता दीजिए ना, क्या मेरा ऑडियो वीडियो क्लियर है? क्या ऑडियो वीडियो क्लियर है? क्या बता दीजिए, फटाफट बता दीजिए यार. और जो जूम से कनेक्टेड है यहाँ पे भी बता दीजिए, और जो यूट्यूब लाइव पे भी कनेक्टेड है, आई जस्ट रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू कि प्लीज गिव अ कंफर्मेशन ओवर द चैट बॉक्स. इज माय ऑडियो वीडियो क्लियर? इज माय ऑडियो वीडियो क्लियर? Got it, got it, got it. Great. So great. I think finally we have our budget out, and generally after the budget is out, being a student, देखो हमारे ना एक्सपेक्टेशंस, एक जर्नी एक बहुत डिफरेंट होती है. अगर स्टूडेंट होते हैं तो एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि यार बजट में कम से कम चेंजेस आए ताकि पढ़ाई कम करना पड़े. और जब सीए बन जाते हैं तो अलग एक्सपेक्टेशन होती है. राइट, द पीपल दोज हु आर इन प्रैक्टिस एक्सपेक्ट्स के कुछ ऐसे चेंजेस आए जहां से पैसा थोड़ा बन पाए. ठीक है. तो एवरीवन हैव अ डिफरेंट एक्सपेक्टेशंस फ्रॉम द बजट. राइट, सो बट बिफोर वी स्टार्ट इन, राइट, जस्ट वांटेड योर व्यू. आप लोग का एक थॉट प्रोसेस मुझे चाहिए कि आपको कैसा लगा बजट. आई थिंक कुछ लोगों ने ऊपर ऊपर से देखा होगा, फ्यू ऑफ यू मस्ट हैव जस्ट ओवरव्यूड इट, बट जस्ट वांटेड योर थॉट प्रोसेस ऑन द बजट कि आपका व्यू क्या था, आपको कैसा लगा ये बजट. जरा बताइए चैट बॉक्स में. विल बी रियली हैप्पी टू रीड. राइट, वो डिड यू लाइक इट, डिड यू डिडंट लाइक इट. राइट, और बीच में आई थिंक इस बार एक खादी जोक वोक भी मार दिया था उन्होंने पॉल्यूशन को लेके कुछ, है ना, पॉलिटिक्स को पॉल्यूशन कुछ तो हो गया था. राइट, ठीक था ओवरऑल. ओके, गॉट इट. ओके ओके टाइप. अच्छा, कोई कह रहा है नहीं समझ में आया इसलिए तो यहाँ आए हैं. चलो बहुत बढ़िया. राइट, मॉडरेट था. ओके, गॉट इट. एस्टिमेट्स लॉन्ग टर्म इमीडिएट. ओके, कोई कह रहा है इलेक्शन बेस्ड बजट था. अच्छा, मैं सब समझ रहा हूँ, सब समझ रहा हूँ. राइट, यूट्यूब से जो कनेक्टेड है आप भी जरा बता दीजिए, हमें बहुत खुशी होती है आपके मैसेजेस पढ़ के. दीपक अग्रवाल कह रहे हैं क्लियर है. ओके, अच्छा, कोई कह रहा है एटीसी का बढ़ाया नहीं, बहुत दुख हो रहा है. चलो कोई बात नहीं, कोई बात नहीं. अच्छा, G20 बजट. Got it, got it, got it. Great. I think everyone have a different expectations, right? And in today's session, we have our one of the mentor, right, who have joined in for this session out. So just without wasting much of our time, I'll request all of you जो Zoom से connected है, right, एक बार सभी videos on करिए. right, videos on करके, right, videos on करके unmute करके, right, हमारे साथ mentor connected है विकास सर. Right, he is very experienced guy having a 12 plus years of practicing experience. Right, तो एक बार वीडियो ऑन करके मेंटर के लिए रिस्पेक्ट दिखाएंगे हम. राइट, और अनम्यूट करके जोरदार तालियों से स्वागत करेंगे. राइट, मैं सभी को अनम्यूट करूंगा, जोरदार तालियों से स्वागत करेंगे. मेंटर हैव जॉइंड फॉर दिस सेशन, और जोरदार तालियों से स्वागत करेंगे. तो ग्रेट ग्रेट ग्रेट. हाँ, मैं सबको म्यूट भी कर देता हूँ. राइट, थैंक्स. अच्छा, अरे वीडियो बंद नहीं करना था. कुछ लोग ने ताली बजाने के लिए वीडियो ऑन किया फिर बंद कर दिया. गजब था. राइट, सो रियली हैप्पी. राइट, mentor for this session have joined in. Vikas sir have joined in for this session out. Just a small introduction about Vikas sir. So Vikas Boki sir have been a chartered accountant. He is also LLB. He is also a company secretary. Right, triple degree. Right, and he's a co-founder and partner at a firm called as SRB and Co. And luckily, I got opportunity to meet him in Mumbai meetup. He has more than 12 years of practicing experience, and he has been working into multiple areas like income tax, litigation, international tax, FEMA, cross-border structuring, advisory, M&A, and other aligned services. So he regularly represents their clients before various revenue authorities and courts across the India. Apart from professional front, he has written many tax-related articles which got published in various professional magazines, websites, and regular speaker to various public and private forums, and take the sessions at ICF programs and many more. Right, so really happy, really welcome for this session, sir. And I'm also really excited कि क्या insights है, and really a lot of students are also sitting here from the perspective of कि कुछ सीखने मिलेगा नया, and also they are going to be sitting from the perspective of कि कुछ चार चीजें ऐसी भी बता देना जो इंटरव्यूअर पूछेगा हमें बजट के रिलेटेड, so that we can tell them out. So great, sir. Really happy that you've joined in. Vikas sir, yeah.
Thank you, Shivam sir, for my introduction.
Yes.
Good evening, India. Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are in best of your health and all of you are doing well. So thank you all for joining this session. And I would like to have this session more interactive. I will keep my first. I will submit. I will give my presentation, and after the presentation, I will take question answers from Zoom and also from YouTube, subject to how much time Shivam sir will permit me. So I am looking for a very good session, and I hope all of you will take certain insights from this session. So before start of the session, there is one important announcement for all participants who have joined through Zoom or through YouTube. So if you are a fresher chartered accountant or if you are a CA student, so for fresher chartered accountant, if you are looking for job interview or if you are preparing for job interview, please note that in your job interview, you may be asked direct questions related to Union Budget 2023 and amendments and its impact. So please watch this session carefully, and if you have any doubts, you can ask those doubts in the after the session. And if any students who are appearing in May 2024 or November 2024 CA final attempt, please note that this budget 2023 amendment is likely to direct impact in your CA final direct tax paper. You can expect up to 50 marks question from the amendments. So if you are of this term of these terms, May 24 or November 24, please watch this session and take the learnings from the session. So let me start my session. Is my screen is visible?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes. So Union Budget 2023 was presented by Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on 1st of Feb. So this was the 5th year of Union Budget presented by Madam Finance Minister. And everybody was expected, there were lots of expectation regarding Union Budget with the Finance Minister, and industry people has given a thumbs up to this budget. But every time when the budget is coming, so everyone was having questions ke क्या changes हुए हैं, क्या नहीं changes हुए हैं, how many amendments. So Shivam sir, you are asking ke so CA student normally pray that budget में कम amendments आए. So just for the sake of just for the sake of information, in this budget there are more than 120 amendments or even more. I've noted down around 120 amendments. So far as amendments are concerned, this is a there are lots of amendments and there are lots of things in the budget. So let me start my presentation. Yes, 7 years ago, majority of the Indians was asking one burning question: कटप्पा ने बाहुबली को क्यों मारा? After 7 years, since 1st Feb 2023 till today, in last 3 days, the most burning question which every Indian is asking: should I go to old regime? Should I go to new regime? And even I have received many calls from my clients, and they are asking, sir, किस regime में जाना चाहिए, क्या करना चाहिए? So my only suggestion, I have given them suggestion, you please wait. This is not like you can uniformly apply to old regime or new regime. So this old regime and new regime need to be tested on case-to-case basis. So let us explore what is the new regime and old regime. So in financial year 2020, Madam Finance Minister has bring a new regime for tax calculation, and in the new regime, they have purposefully kept the tax rate very low But the demerit of the new regime was there was no exemption, there was no deduction, and no additional benefits. So due to which the new regime was less lucrative. Subsequently, Income Tax Department understood that people are not opting out the new regime. So in this budget, there are many changes proposed in the new tax regime. Please note there is no changes in the old tax regime. All the changes are in the new tax regime. So in the new tax regime, they propose that if you are having an income up to 7 lakh, you don't need to pay any tax. Apart from that, they have said that if you are a salaried person or pensioner, you will get standard deduction up to 50,000 rupees. But the demerit of the new regime is that there is no exemption, no deductions. When I say exemption, like HR for salaried class employee, many of the salaried class employee taking HRA exemption. They are taking deduction under section 80C, 80D, 80TTA, and other deduction 80G. So in the new regime, please note, except one or two small deductions, there is no exemption and deductions. So if anyone asks you that whether I should go for new regime or whether I should go for old regime, so you cannot straight away say that new regime is good or old regime is good. We need to check in which regime your tax liability is lower. If you are getting lots of exemption and deductions, then you should opt for old regime. And if you are not obtaining lots of exemption and deduction and you are a lower salary bracket, then you should opt for new regime. And if your salary income is below, if your salary income is 7 lakh or below 7 up to 7 lakh or 7,50,000, then you can say up to paisa hi paisa hoga. But I don't know how much money you will able to save. So in the new regime for HNIs, they have also earlier for HNIs, those having income of more than 5 CR, the maximum surcharge rate was 37%. So they have reduced it to 25%, but only in the new regime. So their effective tax rate, which was earlier 43%, is now reduced to 39%. In a personal tax front, there is one more amendment proposed by Finance Minister related to capital gains. So I'm explaining this provision with an example. So suppose you have so in case of section 54, if you had sold a house property and there are certain amount of capital gains, and if you deposit that amount of capital gains in a residential house property within a certain time limit, then you will get exemption under section 54 towards the amount of capital gains. So what is this provision says? What is this amendment say? That this amount of capital gain, there shall be a cap of 10 crore. So suppose if you have sold a house property and your capital gain amount is more than 15 crore, so you need to ignore amount over and above 10 crore. So your maximum capital gain exemption under section 54 shall be 10 crore. So the taxpayer who are living in South Bombay or in post areas of Delhi and Bangalore, they may be or HNIs, so they are going to impacted badly, and they are asking to their CA that अब कुछ हो सकता है क्या? सर कुछ नहीं हो सकता, अब टैक्स तो भरना पड़ेगा अभी अगर एक्स्ट्रा आपको इनकम होगी तो. So the next provision again, there was a loophole in the tax provision. So by proposing this amendment, Finance Minister trying to plug this loophole. So what is the loophole? So in case of housing loan, the taxpayer are getting home loan deduction under section 24. If it is self-occupied, it's 2 lakh. If it is let out, there is no limit. And what the taxpayer were doing, that they were claiming deduction under section 24 also, and at the time of sale of property, they were taking this interest portion as a cost of improvement or cost of acquisition, and they were claiming double deduction. So to plug this loophole, the amendment proposed that if you have claimed deduction under section 24, then you will not be allowed to claim interest part once again. In case of personal taxes, so there are one more amendment which is going to impact HNI, probably HNI. So in case of big insurance policies, so earlier last year, Finance Minister proposed an amendment that in case of ULIP insurance policy, if your annual payment of premium is more than 2,50,000 rupees, then your maturity proceeds shall become taxable and it will not be a tax exempt. So in this budget, Finance Minister proposed that if you are buying an insurance policy other than ULIP, and if you are paying an annual premium of more than 5 lakh, then you will not get tax exemption at the time of maturity of this policy. This amendment is going to applicable with effect from 1st April 2023. So if you are looking to buy an insurance policy which premium is over and above 5 lakh, so you can buy it up to 31st March 2023. There was one more amendment relating to gifts. So earlier the provision was that if a resident person is making a gift to non-residents, so then that gift amount shall become taxable in the hand of non-resident in that previous years. But when the Finance Minister brought this amendment few years ago, so they have only used the word non-resident and they have not given the word resident but not ordinary resident. So few of the taxpayers who were resident but not ordinary residents started taking benefit of this lacuna in the law. So by this amendment, now this loophole has been plugged. There are lots of amendments which is going to impact positively and negatively in the Indian startup ecosystem. So one first amendment is extension of period of incorporation to claim tax benefit. There is one section, section 80 IAC of the Income Tax Act, which says that if you are an eligible startup and if you started your production from 1st April 2016 till 31st March 2023, then profit, your 3 consecutive year profit will become tax exempt. So now they have extended this period to 31st March 2024. Another amendment they proposed, this is going to impact startups negatively. So they have included non-resident under the purview of 56(2)(7). So we all know that startup ecosystems are based on and supported by angel investors or investors across the world. So earlier the provision was that if an Indian company is issuing shares to resident shareholders over and above its fair market value, then the difference between the fair market value and the actual amount shall get taxed in the hand of the Indian company. But in this provision, the word non-resident was not there. So many startups were taking the benefit of this loophole, and they were issuing shares at a high price over and above the fair market value. So now government has brought this amendment. So now they are saying if you are taking investment from non-resident investors, then the excess amount is going to be taxed in the hand of the startup company. Yes. Another amendment, a welcome amendment, brought in by the finance minister, proposed by the finance minister. So in case of startups, we all know that in earlier year of their business, they used to burn lots of money, and they used to report maximum losses. So I think in India, majority of the startups are in losses also. So, but in startup ecosystem, many times founders or co-founders need to dilute their equity to bring angel investors on board. So there is one section in income tax, section 79, which says that if your equity shareholding is diluted beyond 51%, then you will not be allowed to carry forward of losses. So to tackle the problem faced by the startups, amendment is proposed that in case of eligible startups, this section 79 is not going to have an impact. So eligible startup means the startup who is registered by DPIT of the central government. Another amendment is that earlier the carry forward of loss was allowed up to only 7 years. So now after amendment, now this time limit has been increased to 10 years. Yeah, capital gain. Capital gains. So this is one interesting amendment brought in by finance minister. So I personally feels that this amendment is proposed in the statute to bring out the physical gold kept by Indians in their home. So what this proposal says that you can convert your physical gold into a digital gold. So they will form a SEBI registered entity. So you need to submit your physical gold with that entity, and they will give you a digital certificate. And you can keep that digital certificate with you in your Demat account or so. They will formalize the process. And when you want your gold back, then you can submit your digital certificate with the authority, and they will give you equivalent gold. So amendment, what they bring the amendment that whenever you are doing this transaction, giving the physical gold and taking the digital certificate, or again giving the digital certificate and taking the physical gold, this transaction will not be treated as transfer, and there shall not be any capital gain tax in this transaction. Another amendment in capital gains is related to cost of acquisition of self-generated intangible assets. Honorable Supreme Court in the case of BC Srinivasan Setty has given a principle that in case of self-generated assets, if you are not able to find out the cost of acquisition of those assets, then what you need to do, since cost of acquisition is nil, or we are not able to find out the cost of assets, so then there shall not be any capital gains. So because for calculating capital gains, we need to find out what is the sale consideration and what is the cost of acquisition. So, but we are not able to find out the cost of acquisition. So due to this, many transactions were getting untaxed. So to plug this loophole, finance minister proposed the amendment that in case of these kind of assets, or in case of self-generated intangible assets where you cannot find out the cost of acquisitions, they prescribed that in case of these kind of assets, the cost of acquisition or cost of improvement shall be taken as nil. So the moment the act has given you the cost of acquisition, you cannot say, okay, I am not able to find out the cost of acquisition, and hence this transaction will come under the purview of capital gains. Yes, this is interesting. This is interesting. So capital gains on market linked debentures. So what is market linked debentures? So these market linked debentures are like derivatives. So they derive its value from this underlying assets, so be it Nifty or Sensex or Gold Index or Nifty Index Fund. So till now, these instruments are treated as long-term capital gain. The gain on these instruments are treated as long-term capital gains, and the rate of tax is 10% without indexation. Through this amendment, the finance minister is proposing that these instruments are in the nature of derivatives, so it should not be long-term capital gain, rather than it should be a short-term capital gain, and it will be taxed at the rate 15%, not the 10%. This is the one of the most important amendment proposed by finance minister. So this is related to micro and small enterprises. So many times, these, even during the COVID time, these enterprises were facing lots of issue due to liquidity. The big corporates or corporates were not paying their dues on timely basis. So due to which an amendment is proposed in section 43B. What section 43B says is certain deductions will be allowed on actual payment basis. So what this amendment proposed, that as per MSME Act, if you have a written agreement with the SME enterprises, then you should make the payment within 45 days. And if you don't have any written agreement, you need to make the payment within 15 days. So what is the amendment? As per this amendment, if any company is not making the payment to MSME enterprises within 45 days or 15 days, then that expenditure is going to be disallowed while calculating taxable income. So this is a welcome amendment, and this will force corporates to make the payment of MSME within prescribed time limit. Another amendment is related to availing tax exemption by SEZ units. So various units who have set up in SEZ, they're claiming exemption under section 10AA. So apart from other pointers, so they put two additional pointers for these SEZ units for claiming exemption under section 10AA. So those points were that you need to file your tax return within due date under section 139(1), and you should receive your proceeds from sale of goods or services within 6 months in a convertible foreign exchange. There are certain amendments, good amendments, and business head. So one of the amendment is related to increase in threshold limit for presumptive taxation scheme. So earlier the limit for business, earlier the limit was 2 crore. So now it has increased to 3 crore. But subject to condition that 90% of your turnover should be through banking channels, through non-cash mode. In case of professionals, so amount is increased from 50 lakh to 75 lakh. And the same condition applies that you need to receipt, your turnover should be 95% to non-cash mode. Another amendment in business side is related to allowing additional tax benefit to cooperative societies. So 2 years ago, finance minister has proposed an amendment, proposed a new tax regime for new companies who are engaged in the manufacturing activity. So as per that provision, those companies were subject to 15% tax. So there were certain specified entities who were covered in that 50% regime. So many cooperative societies were presented their representation that why we have not included in this 15% regime. So now the finance minister is saying that if you are a cooperative society and if you are engaged in manufacturing activity and if you are fulfilling all the conditions, then you will also claim the tax benefit of 15%. Another important amendment is relating to valuation of inventory as per ICDS. So many a times at the time of the scrutiny proceeding, the income tax officer find it difficult to ascertain that whether the inventory reported by the company is proper, or is there any undervaluation or overvaluation of the inventory. So earlier there was no provision for direction of the special audits, but now through this amendment, though they have now the income tax officer can direct a special audit for inventory valuation, and it should be done by the cost accountant, not the chartered accountant, right? So chartered cost accountant will get the benefit of this through these amendments. Another amendment is related to section 35D preliminary expenses. So we all know that in case of preliminary expenses, we claim the tax benefit for the 5 years, 1/5 for 5 years. So now they make the amendment that before claiming the exemption, you need to file certain forms with income tax authority, and you need to submit certain information with the authority, and then they will decide how much deduction you will claim under section 35D. This is quite interesting provision related to TDS, TCS. So many people are now addicted to lots of online gaming, game like Pokerbaji or Rummy or Dream 11 or kind of. So there are many online gaming app, and the regulations of these and there are lots of issues relating to the operations of these gaming apps, and there are lots of discussion going on regarding the operations. So, but even if whatever is the uh, status of these businesses, income tax department want tax. They need tax in every transaction. So earlier, before the amendment, the provision was that if you are indulged in these kind of gaming, and if you are making certain loss, or if you are making certain profits, like I have made 10,000 loss in the month of February and 20,000 profit in the month of March. So earlier the provision was that you need to ignore the loss, and you will get taxed at the rate 30% on the profit. So now they have made the changes that now you need to make the payment only on the net winning. Like in my example, there is 20,000 profit, 10,000 loss. So you need to pay tax only on the profit of 10,000. So how the online gaming company will comply the TDS rate? So they need to deduct TDS on 30% on the net winning from online games. So how they will deal with this? So at the time of each withdrawal, or at the end of the financial year, suppose I have a winning of 1 lakh rupees, and I kept that amount in my wallet. So what they did at the end of the year, if net winning amount is 1 lakh rupees, they will deduct 30% TDS, and they will deposit with the bank. Yes. TDS credit. So this is the welcome amendment made by proposed by Finance Minister, and lots of taxpayer suffering this issue in India. So I will explain the problem statement first, and then so in the year one, suppose I provided some service to Mr. A, and Mr. A has made the payment and TDS. Mr. A has made the payment to me in year two. I provided a service in year one, and Mr. A has made me the payment in the year two, and he has deducted a TDS in year two. So in the year one, since I have offered the income for taxation, so that income I have offered in my tax return, but I will not get tax credit in year one because that TDS is not reflecting in my 26As. In year two, what will happen? In year two also, TDS is reflecting, but I will not able to claim the TDS credit. Why? Because I have not offered the income in year two. I have offered the income in year one. So now the amendment proposed by the finance minister, which says that in this scenario, you should file an application with the assessing officer, and assessing officer rectify the intimation or order of the year one, and will allow the TDS credit in the year one. So this is one of the best amendment that the finance minister has made this time. So there are certain few amendments. So earlier there were no TDS on interest on listed debentures. So now they have brought this TDS interest under the TDS purview. And earlier the TDS on cash withdrawal by cooperative society were 1 crore, so they have increased up to 3 crore. And one welcome move in the related to payment to non-residents. So in case of units of a mutual fund, so earlier the provision was that if you are making any payment to any unit holders of a mutual fund outside India, then you need to deduct 20% straight away TDS, and they were not allowing you the TT benefit. Now they are saying that if you are making a payment to any non-resident, so TDS shall be deducted at the rate of 20% or the rate prescribed in the DTAA. So then accordingly you need to then the TDS accordingly will get deducted. Yes. So increase in TCS rate. This is the one of the amendments of lots of hue and cry in various places that this amendment is draconian or is going to have a major impact. So what is amendment says? Like you are remitting any money to your friend or any person outside India. So earlier the provision was that there will be 5% TCS on the remittance. Like if I'm remitting 1 crore to my relative in US, say for example. So then in that case, earlier the provision was that the banker will deduct 5% TDS and deposit in my under my PAN, and my relative will get 95 lakh rupees only. Now what is the amendment? So they have given certain exemption related for medical and education. Medical and education, so they have given certain exemptions. So now after the amendment, so what is the scenario? Now they are saying if you are making any remittances outside India other than medical and education, then the banker will collect 20% TCS. So if I am sending any money to my relative or to my family for their household expenditure, if they are residing outside India or for whatever purpose other than these two, then 20% TCS will get collected and deposited in your name. Now you need to file tax return and you can claim those refund. But the problem is that my huge amount of money will get stuck. So I personally think that 20% is too high. So why this TCS provision brought in the statute? Just to cross check the number of remittances, to have a check on the number of remittances. But I personally feel that this 20% is too steep, and there shall be a reasonable TCS rate. So provisions related to REIT and InvIT. So what is REIT and InvIT? So these are special business trust set up for the purpose of providing certain benefits to few joint venture, few ventures. So earlier, and these trusts are operating like a pass-through income. So if they REIT and InvITs, they used to receive the money from the unit holders, and they used to make investment many places, and whatever income they earn from those investment, in proportionate they pass on the respective income to the unit holder, be it interest income, dividend income, or rental income. So many times REIT and InvITs are making investment in the funds, the income of which is tax exempt. So, but at the time of make passing through that income to the unit holders, the REIT and InvIT were deducting TDS. So now they have brought this amendment that if you are receiving the money which is tax exempt, then you can apply for lower TDS certificate. And another amendment related to this point is that in case of debt repayment, so earlier there was no clarity on the debt repayment. So if REIT and InvITs have given any loan to any party and they have received the loan repayment, and they are passing on that loan repayment to the unit holders. So earlier this amount was not taxable. So now they are saying that whatever amount you are receiving from REIT and InvIT, all the amounts shall get taxable in your hand, and they need to deduct TDS. This is so far income tax litigations are concerned. So this is the one of the welcome amendment proposed by the finance minister. So since last 3 years, there was a huge backlog in the disposal of appeals pending before commissioner appeals. So earlier this appeal mechanism was physical. 3 years ago, government has made an amendment that now all these appeals will be dealt through the faceless mode. But after the introduction of faceless appeal scheme, there were lots of backlog of the appeals. So now to reduce the burden of these huge pendency of the appeals, they proposed that even In case of small cases, they will prepare a separate category, JCIT appeals, and in which joint commissioner or additional commissioner will be allotted certain small demand cases to them for their speedy disposal. There is one more amendment relating to furnishing of TP reports. So earlier, whenever whenever a taxpayer's case is selected for scrutiny, so they have given a time limit of 30 days from the date of notice to submit the TP report. Now they have reduced this time to from 30 days to 10 days. Yes. This amendment is related to gift IFSC. So what is gift IFSC? Gift IFSC. So in 2000, this is a dream project of PM Narendra Modi. So there are big financial cities like Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong. So in the lines of those financial centers, so government has set up a gift city in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, and they have given lots of tax benefit and lots of facilities to various entities to set up their operations in gift city and become gift city a financial hub or for financial transactions. So in last 5 years, in every budget, they are giving more one or two benefit to the gift city to make it more attractive. So now through this budget, what they are saying, if there is a foreign fund, if they want to set up their business in gift city, and if they are having certain assets, if they want to bring those assets in the gift city, then there will be no capital gain tax on it. And earlier the time limit was to bring those funds to set up to make their setup in gift city was 31st March 2023. Now they make it they have increased the date to 31st March 2025. So with this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you, everyone. So if you have any questions, you can ask me.
Yes, you can post your doubts in the chat box. This could be doubts or any questions. You can put it over a chat box. We'll be happy to cover those questions out. Any questions, doubts related to budget? Sir, कुछ important highlight की what are the questions which are going to be asked to candidates out? Just an overview or the points.
इंटरव्यू के लिए जो इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस जो हैं तो वो आई थिंक आई हैव कवर्ड मोर मतलब आउट ऑफ 120 अमेंडमेंट्स आई ट्राई टू कवर 50-60 इम्पोर्टेंट अमेंडमेंट्स so far as I think assessment proceedings are so related to capital gains, HNI's provisions, so those are the things which can be asked at the time of interview. And the debate related to old scheme and new scheme. So this is the evergreen question, so anyone can ask.
Got it. Sir, few questions are there in the chat box if you would check it out. Yeah. There are few questions like someone is asking EGB again, and MSME dues not paid, then we have to report to tax audit report. That are some yeah. I think
okay. Yes. So ideally, so if so they are going to make a corresponding amendment in the okay. It is so it is already there in the tax audit report. So you need to report these transactions that whether you have made the payment to MSME within their due date or not. But earlier the provision of disallowance was not there. So now what happened? So if you will not make the payment within due date, your amount will straight away disallowed. Like in case of contribution to provident fund, if there is even a single day delay, 1 day delay, then that amount will get straight away disallowed.
Got it. I think sir will share this PPT with me, right? I'll try to share with you folks if you want it. Sir, a lot of students are asking. Okay. Whether GST or custom amendment will be asked in interview. Someone is asking.
They may ask. They may ask.
Okay. Got it. Sir, you'll be able to find a lot of questions in a chat box. You can just scroll it out. चैट पे आपको मिलेंगे. मैं एक बार स्क्रीन स्टॉप कर देता हूँ आपको. जूम चैट पे सर यू विल फाइंड सम क्वेश्चंस आउट.
So Mukund Jha has asked the question meaning of net winning, and so meaning of net winning, I have given the example that I have so in 1 month I have received a gain of 20,000, and the next month I have incurred a loss of 10,000. So at the year end, my total gain is only 10,000. Loss minus profit. So what is my net profit, net gain from the from that gaming app in that particular year? That will get taxed. Or if you have not withdrawn, or if you have not withdrawn the money, and that money is kept in the wallet, then at the year end the mobile app company will deduct 30% TDS from your wallet and deposit it with the government. So another so one
What about bounce or cashback lying in account? Someone is asking the same.
what is the,
Mukund is asking.
what about bonus cashback lying in the account? So if so it will be treated like your gain. So they have not specified, they have not bring the specific point regarding bonus and cashback, but as per my understanding, this is your gain. So this is going to be taxed at the rate 30%.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Digital gold and physical gold. Can you please explain again?
Yes, so you need to understand the rationale behind the digital gold and physical gold. So why government has bring this amendment? So the rationale behind is that we Indians are having lots of gold kept in our home, and that gold is not contributing to our country's economy. So government want people to bring those gold in the real economy, and that's why they have given this tax benefit that you bring those gold, take the digital certificate, and government will use that gold in somewhere in the economy. And they have not prescribed the detailed rule about this scheme, so they are going to prescribe. So I think within 1 month or so, they are going to prescribe all the rules related to this gold scheme.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Some other questions which are there. Will standard deduction under new regime will be 50 to 500?
No, it will be 50,000. So I think that there was some slip of tongue by the finance minister. So it is 50,000. So it is there in the fine print.
Okay. Can you please explain TDS credit in subsequent years?
Yeah. So I am so for the sake of the benefit, I am again explaining it with I am repeating the same example. In year 1, I have raised one invoice to one vendor. Say invoice of 1 lakh rupees. That vendor has booked that invoice in year 2, deduct the TDS in year 2, 10% TDS, and make the payment of 90,000 to me in year 2. Since I have raised the invoice, I have shown that income in my tax return of year 1. Since the TDS was not deposited by that vendor in the year 1, I was not able to claim that TDS in year 1. Now coming to year 2, that vendor has deposited the TDS and submitted the TDS. So that TDS is reflecting in year 2, but I cannot claim that TDS in year 2 because of the provision of the income tax. It says you can claim TDS in the year in which you have offered the income. So I have offered the income in the year 1, not in year 2. So what happened in this scenario? I am not able to claim TDS in year 1 also and year 2 also. So after this proposed amendment, it is giving the power to assessing officer that assessee can file an application with the respective assessing officer, and the assessing officer can rectify the intimation order of year 1 and can allow the TDS credit of 10,000 rupees, which was lying unclaimed in year 2. I hope I'm clear.
Got it. So do we need to opt old regime in April, or can we change it later?
So far as my suggestion regarding the old regime and new regime, the new regime is already there. So what you need to do, don't go just blindly for old regime and new regime. You need to calculate your tax liability as per new regime and as per old regime. If you are a middle tax bracket up to 10 lakh, and if you are claiming HRA exemption, home loan interest benefit, 80C, 80D, 80TTA, 80G, if you are claiming those kind of benefit, then don't go for new regime. But if you are not taking those exemption, then you can go for new regime. So you need to calculate. So if your income is up to 7,50,000, then straight away go for new regime. So you need to calculate your tax liability in old regime as well as new regime. And wherever there is beneficial, so you need to opt out all you can choose the regime. But important point here is that your default tax regime is new regime. So government is going to introduce some sort of procedural, some sort of process through which you can choose whether you will take old regime or you will take new regime. And if you will not choose any regime, your by default regime will be new.
Got it. Rahul is asking, sir, can you please explain the concept of 194R amendment in this budget?
194R amendment. Yeah. So this is related to perquisite. So as per section 28, so earlier was that if you are receiving any benefit or cash in kind or other things, so it will become taxable in the business head. So earlier, I think the value of kind was not there. So now they have included the value. So cash or kind. So the overall concept is that if you are getting any benefit, be it in cash, check, or any kind, so TDS needs to be deducted on the value of the aggregate value, and the entire amount will get taxed in the hand of the company under section 28.
Got it. If the payment is made to MSME vendor after 45 days, but during the financial year itself, such expenses allowed or not?
No, disallowed.
Got it. Time to change the regime. Any more doubts in the chat box, please? Any more doubts?
You can check in the YouTube link.
I think I've covered from YouTube, sir. Okay. Sir, will it be taxed if transfer of a gold? If we transfer the gold certificate?
No, if you transfer the gold certificate, then also there will be no capital gain. So the idea behind this thing is that a government want to change the habit of the Indians to, instead of keeping physical gold, they want you to keep the gold in digital form.
Got it. Okay, I think that's it. I think we have covered almost all the doubts out. If in case agar kisi ko aur bhi doubts hai, right, those are connecting and watching this session out, you can put it over the comment section on YouTube live, right? We'll be really happy to cover all the doubts out, right? And I think that was a very insightful session, right? And iske alawa, if any more doubts, those are there, you can put it over the YouTube comment section. We'll be happy to cover and put give the answer for the same. If needed, we can have one more session later on for doubts specifically, right? So I think that's all about the session out. I would request all of you, those who have connected from a Zoom, please, if you could turn on your videos out and give a round of applause to sir for joining for this session out. Unmute करके जोरदार तालियों से thank you बोलेंगे. Right.
Thank you, sir.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. So So I think thanks Vikas sir. I think really nice PPT and presentation and delivery which was given. I think I was also reading it out, you know. So really happy and looking forward for more sessions out. And thanks once again for the session, sir.
Yeah, I will share the PPT with Shivam sir. So Shivam sir will distribute circulate with all of you. And
Done.
still, if any one of you is having any doubt, any one of you can connect me directly. So you can take my details from Shivam sir. So
Done.
I'm happy to help you.
Yes. No. Yes, sir. Sir के साथ you can connect on LinkedIn as well, right? Not a problem, है ना? Sir will share the LinkedIn ID as well. Great. So great.
my
Thanks
link-
everyone. Yeah, thanks everyone for the session.
So I'm just sharing my LinkedIn ID. So it's a Vikas Bogi. So you can connect me in the LinkedIn or okay.
Up to
Okay.
you. Yes.